Shane, welcome to the show.
Right. Thanks for having me.
What is something that either jiu-jitsu or martial arts has shifted about your perspective on the world?
Sorry, what is my what has
What-
jiu-jitsu or martial arts shifted in my perspective?
Yeah.
So it's been a bit of a long journey for me. So, whew, probably like all of my perspectives. I think the big thing that I really relate jujitsu to is, or not relate jujitsu to, the perspective of it to me is whenever I'm trying to understand something that I don't quite understand, or I'm trying to learn something that's a bit different, what I tend to do is just relate it back to jujitsu. So I'm kind of like, like let's say I'm learning something and I'm kind of struggling. I'm like, I'm at that kind of just about blue belt stage where things haven't quite like fallen into place yet, but I'm starting to get a bit of an idea. So I find when I do that, it's sort of like, yeah, I've got it now, if you know what I mean. And then it also transpires to be when I've learned something and I'm getting a little bit better, I kind of like, I sort of like, maybe I think about myself as like a purple belt getting ready for a competition. I'm like putting a bit of pressure on myself. I'm like, right, let's go. And then that's how I tend to think about it for me. But then also when I look at somebody else and I'm like, "Fuck, this idiot, they don't have a clue what they're talking about." Then I'm like, hang on, it's just because I've been around, say, construction or jujitsu or whatever for like over 20 years, and this person's been at it for 6 months. It's of course they don't understand. Just cut them a little bit of slack. So that's probably my favourite takeaway from or mindset shift or way of looking at martial arts and jiu-jitsu as it relates to the world. Aside
Yeah.
from that, I could go on about a lot of other things, I suppose.
Yeah. It relates very well to general life, like any martial art. I find that I end up like I'm a martial arts fucking nerd. That's pretty much all I think about. And I find that there's so many times where I am relating a certain situation to something that's happened on the mats or anything to do with martial arts, whether it's maybe maybe someone's acting like a bit of a dickhead.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like, oh well, they just don't understand the situation, you know, the way that I understand it because I've been in this situation more times than they have. Same as if they're being a bit spazzy in mount or whatever. Like they don't understand
Mm,
how to control that situation the same way because maybe they haven't got as much life experience or experience in that position.
exactly. Yeah, man. I know it's like your pod, but can I ask you a question?
Of course.
With you being a bit of a martial arts nerd, where like yeah, what's kind of your like sort of story and background and that kind of thing? I just sort of tried to look it up a bit the other day. I'm like, seems like a cool guy, but I don't exactly know. I don't sort of know where he's come from.
Yeah, I never really put sorry, I've got a bit of a groggy throat this morning. I never really put much of what I do out there. Just because I like talking to other people, really. So I've been training martial arts as a whole for 6.5 years, something like that. So not crazy amounts.
Yeah,
But I'm only 23. So
yeah,
um,
yeah. So you'll get it got started like 16, 17.
yeah. I wish I got
Yeah,
started
that's
earlier.
sick.
Yeah,
Oh, Crimea River.
yeah. So the story behind me wanting to start earlier is I might have told this before, I might not have. Obviously, when I was so in the UK, you can't drive until you're 17.
Yeah,
Where I live, there's not a whole lot of places that are like walking distance to
yeah.
go and train at. You kind of have to drive. Um, so I wanted to go to the closest martial arts place, but I couldn't get there without either a really, really long walk at night when I was like 14, 15,
Yeah.
um, or getting a taxi. So I got myself a taxi because my mum wouldn't take me. Um, so sort of in defiance, I was like, "Oh, I'll get a taxi. I'll show you." Um,
Mm.
and then quickly realized that taxis are quite expensive, so I couldn't afford that. So I did that once and then never did it again. Um, And then I went down to an Aikido place because I could get the train there. And then I realized that Aikido is not very good, um, in my opinion, and lots of people's opinion. And then as soon as I got my driving license, I started training MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, kickboxing, Muay Thai I did for a while. I've done some karate, done some wrestling. I've never really done much judo. Yeah, and then
Yeah,
done a
so
bit
you're
of
like just a proper any of the martial arts that really work in you're like, let me at it, let me train them.
yeah. I did my first ever boxing class the other day. So yeah,
Bro, how good is boxing? I love boxing so much.
yeah,
Just the angles and the footwork, it's such a lovely art. But you start getting into it, and after you've done it for a few years, you get, Friday nights you go in there and you have your like more competitive ones, and then you wake up on Saturday morning like you didn't go training the night before, like you were at the pub all night. Like,
yep, yeah,
do
yeah,
you?
yeah. Literally. I went boxing. It was like 10:30 in the morning. Did some jiu-jitsu afterwards. Finished training by about 1. And then went to see my girlfriend in the evening. And I was sat with her and I was like, I've got a headache. Like I do a lot of martial arts. I do a lot of kickboxing. I do a lot of MMA. But it was something about just doing strikes to the head and the body that just the sheer volume of it adds up so much quicker than any other.
You just have to throw so many jabs, and you have to keep peppering the jabs, and you can't like slip them all. You have to just keep taking them, so they kind of hit you. There's just these little ones, and that's where you get the concussion. That's where that's where you start talking a bit slow.
Yeah. Yeah,
Like, this
100.
was a couple of years ago. I had to make the decision and go, yeah, I just need these brain cells. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
What
So
is your goal out of so you're doing all these different sorts of training? Is it just like a basic interest for you, or are you like looking to compete, have an MMA fight?
so when I first started, I was like a young, brash, cocky kid. Seen one too many Conor McGregor motivation things, and I was like, I want to be him. And then I had a couple of low-level kickboxing matches, got my ass beat. Um, Realized that competing wasn't for me.
Mm,
I don't want to do that. Maybe at some point in the future I'll dabble in competing a little bit, but just as a one-off, just maybe it might take my interest more. At the moment, no interest in it at all
yeah.
whatsoever. I just want to be the best martial artist that I can be. I want to be a really I want to help other people experience what I've experienced in terms of the things that martial arts has given me. So I want to be a really good coach.
Mm,
If I can achieve having my own gym where I produce really good level martial artists, people and competitors, that's great.
yeah, man, that's awesome. I
Yeah.
know, and I'm a bit like that at the moment for myself with competing. I feel like jujitsu though, especially at like your age, I would. What are you? Blue belt, purple belt level? What sort of level are
Yeah, I've
you?
been a blue belt for like a long time now.
Yeah, because I was thinking 6 years, but then he's also done like a lot of other things. I'm guessing
Yeah,
really
I've
good
been I've
blue
been a
belt.
blue
So
belt
yeah,
for getting towards not crazy long, I guess, like 3 years.
yeah. My kind of thing would be to go, and my whole journey was the same. I never really wanted to do MMA. Didn't like never wanted to compete in boxing or anything. Just loved the art side of it. As far as jiu-jitsu is concerned, it's pretty safe to like do like your low level kind of local tournaments and that sort of thing. But as far as if you're somebody that doesn't really like competing, but you have that in like end goal, like, and I was the same. I was like, I definitely want to compete. I definitely don't want to compete, but I want to coach and I want to be a good coach. Get on the mats at least 2 times at every belt. So your
Okay.
blue belt now, do 2 comps, do 3 comps at blue belt, do a few comps at purple belt, do a few at brown, and then whether you win or lose, just basically track how you feel, how you get ready for it, just so that you know once you have your own club and somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, I'm thinking about competing," you've got a real you've got a real opinion. Even if you lose and even if it all goes really bad, like most of my competitions have and do, at least you know this is what I did on the times that worked. This is what I learned about the times that didn't go so well. This is what I can tell you from my personal experience. If you've gotten all the way there and you're a black belt that's never competed, even like all my competitions were like fairly low level comps, but at least you know what the nerves feel like. At least you know what it feels like when the ref goes combash and you look across and you're like, oh, this is actually real now. Then you can go, all right, sweet.
Yeah, it's a really interesting one because I've spoken to many different coaches at many different levels.
Yeah.
Um, so people who are just like local coaches who train majority of just white belts, all the way up to people who train UFC champions, right? They all have such different opinions on
Yeah.
it. So, for example, I spoke to a guy called Eric Nixick, who is the
Yep.
head coach at Extreme Couture.
Yep.
Um, and he did like one or two grappling comps, like local comps, and that is it. No MMA competition, no kickboxing, no literally just a couple of local grappling comps. And he's the head coach of people like Sean Strickland. Um, mine's gone completely blank. Derek Brunson, like loads and loads of
Yeah.
high level guys.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and he was like, don't worry about it, you know? um, and then I speak to other people and they're like, no, you have to compete. And then other people are like, you will get something from it, but you don't have to necessarily worry about it. But maybe it's good if you do it. And then, yeah, like it seems to be one of those things where there's so many differing opinions on it. So it's interesting to get your take on it.
Yeah. I just think being being something that you get so worked up over and you feel so strongly about winning and you feel so strongly about losing and you usually have friends and family and that standing right at the sidelines, but it's not really like it's a lot in your head, but it's actually very little in real life. And in hindsight, when you look back at it, you just go, wow, I had so much emotion around that. And it's like quite a, usually, especially like you're in the UK, there'll be, I bet you there's like half a dozen comps every year within half an hour. Like I can pretty much guarantee that. It's such an easy thing for you just to go, "Oh, well, here's like 30 quid. I'll just go in this comp and I'll just have a crack, see how I go, done. Just for your, like if your goal down the track is to like coach, I just know from coaching myself so much that everybody at some point comes up to you and says, hey, what do you think about competing? And I just think it's a very good thing to have in your mind as like, this is my opinion on it.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100. I definitely agree with what you're saying. Because like I say, I've done a little bit of kickboxing competition. A very, very limited low level amounts, you know. Not saying I'm some expert kickboxer. But even just from doing that, there are a lot of lessons that I've learned from doing that. So I definitely do understand the message that you're getting across there for sure.
Because it's not like you need to go to ADCCs. It's not like you really need to structure full training camps or any training camps at all. It's more of just like oh, this is what it felt like at that level. This is what I experienced. This is how I got ready for it. And then now this is my opinion.
I've been
But I mean, I also, sorry to cut you off there, but I also do really appreciate if you listen to me and then go, you know what, my goal is to be this person and I really don't want to do that, then I think awesome. I think that's really, really good. And that's why this is like my big thing is like culture. And my thing about culture isn't, hey, do it this way because this is the best way. To me, culture is, hey, what's your goal? What do you like as a person? How do we like look at those things and what's the fastest way that you can get to be achieving of that goal, if you know what I mean? Not some kind of, you should compete two times at each belt, or you should compete 3 times at each belt, and then you've got this opinion. Like if your goal is to be like a coach and a really good trainer, really like knowledgeable on the different styles of training and the different martial arts, and be able to put yourself forward the best for your students. And if you think that competing a few times is actually going to detract from that in the long term, then I think, yeah, that's perfect. Tell me to just shut up and you do you, if you know what I mean. I
Yeah,
think too many guys get a black belt, and then they stand up in front of a class, and yeah, okay, you've got 50 people standing there all looking up to you and hanging off every word you say, and then it goes to their head, and they're like, oh well, my opinion and my experience, it now applies to all of you guys, and it drives me mental. Like the amount of times I'm just like, yeah, but look at the room. He's going to train 2 times a week. He's a 40-year-old father of 2. Like he's different from you that wants to like become a coach one day, and he's also different from this 26-year-old competitor that just wants to get ready for the ADCCs, and the 50-year-old girl in the corner that's just training for a bit of self-defense. It's completely different for every single one of those people. So I can't stand up in front of a class and say, hey, you should all compete 2 times at every belt. It's completely irrelevant. So
yeah.
yeah.
It's another one of those lessons which martial arts teaches you about life, is that uh, the classic saying of like one size doesn't fit all.
Mm.
It's the exact. For example, I can't go into specifics because here's my. But but
Yeah.
there in a fictional scenario there might be certain companies which are ran a little bit like that, right?
Mm.
Where
It's actually most of the big ones.
yeah,
I've actually helped set up one of the big franchises in Australia.
okay,
I know.
yeah.
You don't even need to say the names.
Yeah, but like you say, with big companies, it happens a lot where it's like, no, this is our policy and this is the only way we do it.
Hmm.
But then from the head office's point of view, that works. But the people on the ground, they're like, no, but we're the people that are seeing this policy implemented, and we can see that if we just tweaked it this way slightly, for us, that would work better than for that section of the company over there. But
Exactly.
because it's what the head of the company is saying, it
Ah,
doesn't
yes.
it doesn't quite work. So it's another one of those scenarios where, you know, maybe just because I'm a little bit of a martial arts geek, I'm like, oh, back to martial arts. But
Hmm.
it does fit.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, I'm actually trying to get my own podcast going myself. I've recorded 3, managed to save 2 of them. I've got one up, and I'm struggling to upload the the one I just recorded there the other day. But what I'm actually wanting to do is talk to people that are, say, white and blue belts like yourself, that are very interested, from like somebody that's been around a while, and just go, oh, look at these, newer people to the sport that are interested and determined to go all the way. They're actually the future of the sport. We need to see what, where they're coming from, what their view of it is, not be like how when I started, it was very much like the guy that walked out into the middle of the mat and was like, okay, guys, now today we're going to work on. He was the guy that everybody just listened to and followed along, and then that was where everything stemmed from. But in today's world, there's just like so many more styles, and there's, people that don't want to do stand-up, people that want to pull guard, people that want to train in gi, people no gi, some both, some people are training for self-defense. There needs to be a little bit more understanding of, hey, this is what people want. We need to, as coaches, understand how best to give it to them, not, hey, this is just the best way at getting good at jiu-jitsu because that's jiu-jitsu. Like, you know what I mean? Like, jiu-jitsu is a new sport. We don't even have a completely ideal rule set yet. We're still messing around with rule sets all over the shop. I mean, Craig Jones just proved that. So, yeah, that's why I'm like, guys like you that are, as far as like, say, blue belt, people say, blue belt doesn't know anything. But in my mind, it's like, well, really, that's where the sport's going. Like, my jiu-jitsu thing, or, my generation of jiu-jitsu is kind of like slowing down and looking at the different things of life and business and family and that kind of thing. It's the guys that that are in their early 20s and that are going to are making their whole career out of jiu-jitsu that we actually need to be listening to. And not just the athlete, not just like, the Nicky Ryans and the J-Rods and that kind of stuff. It's the people that maybe don't want to compete. It's the people that maybe just want to do it for self-defense or are looking at other angles. Jiu-jitsu is still largely a sport that's spectated by the people that actually practice it. So we need to really market our sport and present our sport to coach those people and give them what they actually want.
It's a really nice thing to hear from someone like yourself about that, because there are a lot of people who do dismiss the future of where their sport's going and try and hold on to what it used to be. And I'd be interested to speak to you a little bit about that, because I had an experience where I was at a gym, and then stuff happened. No longer at that gym, and anyone who knows me knows what happened, so I don't need to go over it. But like, it was quite a toxic situation essentially. And then I've gone to a new gym, which, if we just talk about like the specifics of jiu-jitsu, from gym to gym, one gym is very old style jiu-jitsu, kind of ignores a lot of the new stuff. Um, and then I've gone to this new gym where the guy who's coaching me, not the guy that you would have listened to the podcast with, he owns the gym and takes a few classes here and there. But the other coach is like a no-gi grappler, doesn't really focus on belts, never really trains in the gi, but is exceptional at jiu-jitsu. And without a doubt, the best person I have rolled with in my area. But at the time, he was a purple belt,
Yeah.
you know? And a lot of people with their black belts would just dismiss him, but he would fuck them up.
Yeah.
Okay? So what's
Yeah.
what's your opinion on that whole? I guess I haven't really asked you a specific question, but just broadly, what would your opinion be on things like that?
On, yeah, on like well, that kind of, the question you're kind of asking, I guess, there is what sort of a role does belts play in
Yeah, I
the,
guess. Yeah.
yeah. Did you see that? Did you see that post I put up last week about that one?
The
Heap of
sliding
comments.
post.
The carousel.
Yeah, I did.
It's gone a bit nuts. A heap of people have like messaged me about it and that sort of thing. And then you can see there's some people that have jumped on there and commented with like very strong opinions about like the role that belts play and that sort of thing. And then that ties into what you're saying about, if you've got like a white, blue, purple belt, then the people that have been around for years, they're kind of a bit dismissive of it.
Mm.
When it comes to gi, the belts tend to be a little, like, if I'm just talking on a purely jiu-jitsu, nothing else thing, if I'm just talking about like we're all the same size and the same strength, the belts, like as you kind of learn, you get each belt and the blue belts can tap the white belts and the purple belts can tap the blue belts. It's gi, and that was when I started. It was very much like that. You could very much see the structure of the belt system there. But then, no-gis come along, and then you've got this introduction of leg locks, and then all of a sudden, like athletic 20-year-old can come along and focus on nothing but pulling guard and doing leg locks and beat up a black, and like, especially in the training room, a black belt that's trained for say maybe 15 years, gi only, takes the gi off and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll have a no gi roll with you. You're only a blue belt that's smaller than me. Slap hands, bump knuckles, just pulls into some sort of leg entanglement and boom, submission, happy days. So I actually kind of like that. I like that the table, like as far as winning's concerned, or winning in the training room is concerned, it's sort of like really the no-gi and the leg locks kind of things really kind of chop things up there for a little bit, and it's made people really question things like the belts a bit sooner than it would have happened otherwise. my opinion of it goes back to what I said there before, is when you're, say, well, let's just put it down to belts and coach and handing out stripes, and when you're handing out belts, a lot of the time when people have been around for a while, they want to grade, okay, they want to go, oh, okay, you can beat all of the white belts, and sometimes you give some of the purple belts a hard time. Here's you're ready for your blue belt, and so on and so forth with every stripe all the way through the belts. The problem with that is now we've got no-gi, and now, like as I said, we've got the different people with different goals and all in the same room, and we're all training together. So it's not very linear when it comes to that same structure with the belt system. So what that post was about, and what my opinion of it is coaches actually need to look at the humans that they're training and grade them more on, have you done one stripe's worth of work in the gym and progressed one stripe's towards the goals that I know you're working towards? If you have, and I can tell you that's what you've done, then I can give you that stripe. Or if you've done a blue belt's worth of work, maybe you came in as a white belt and you told me that, hey, you wanted to compete and at least get on the podium by the end of the year. Okay, maybe you've only trained 11 months. But in my mind, if you've competed, say, 3 times in that 11 months and you had some bad losses, and then you came third, and then, November you competed the last comp before Christmas, and then you took out first place, maybe it was just a local comp. If that was what your goal was, I'm probably going to be giving you a blue belt after 11 months of training, if you know what I'm saying. But if on the same token you came in and you told me that, and you trained really hard for 3 months, and then you slopped away, and then I hardly saw you at all over the next 6 months, you're probably going to be staying white belt for maybe 3 or 4 years, like if that's going to be the attitude. But that's based completely on you and what you said your goals are. That's how I believe coaches need to be grading, and that's how we need to look at our own progress. We need to be looking on, hey, am I actually progressing towards the goals that I set out to achieve? Does that sort of make sense? Actually, I'll just say one more thing on that. Let's say when you go into have some roles, or you go into do a class, and you kind of if you just, let's say that you've got a jiu-jitsu class just after this, and you just go and rock up, and I don't know, they're showing some technique or they're playing some games, whatever they're doing, you go through the motions and then you have a few rolls. How would you know that you progressed more today than what you did the last time you went and trained jiu-jitsu?
Me
How
personally,
would you know? Yeah, how would you, what would be the little thing to you that says, I'm actually heading in the right direction here?
if I could implement something that I'm working on and get it to work a little bit, not perfectly, but get it to work just a little bit. And say it's if I'm training at the same gym regularly, if I can start to implement new things on people that I wasn't able to implement it on before.
Yeah, 100%, perfect. And as you progress, the things that you're trying to implement and the things that you're trying to work on, they just get smaller and smaller. And you need to kind of give yourself different things that you're working on. Like you might be working on just a slight off balance for one class, and that might be the whole thing that you're working on. It might actually make you end up in worse positions. But hey, if your goal was just that off balance and you managed to pull it off multiple times on everybody that you rolled with, then that's like a massive, a big win in my head. You might have spent all the rest of the time getting yourself out of bad positions, but you got to work on the goal that you got to work on. So it's understanding that and being able to let go of your ego and work on those little things each roll, and then tie that into your overall, what you're working on there in the long term. That is what I believe you should be trying to do, and what coaches need to be able to kind of look at their students and understand a bit better and grade accordingly. But then also in your head, you need to be able to tick that off, because otherwise you fall into the trap of, hey, did I get more submissions than I got on Tuesday than I got on Monday? And then that's the only way that you can do it. And then the only way to get better at that is more weights, more You know what I mean? It's just get stronger and stronger, and then try and learn a little bit more of a technique, and then just make it work. And then then you're kind of losing the art, and you're
Yeah.
also losing sight of what you originally started doing jiu-jitsu for in the first place.
Well, I think that's a big shift from outwards to inwards. So when I first started, I was very much, Coach, look at what I'm doing. You know, like look at what I'm like. Oh, I'm doing this thing to this guy, but I was doing the thing unbelievably wrong. You know, but because I was like having my coach watch me do it, I was
Mm,
expecting something in return. I was expecting some gratification. I was expecting a stripe or a belt because I was doing it in front of my coach.
mm.
But it's those little things like, oh, I was able to keep my frame in place for 10 seconds, whereas before the frame was just completely stripped away and getting my guard passed. That maybe the coach doesn't see, but you don't care about the coach seeing it anymore because you know that you're improving.
That's right. Mm.
But
And then, so the other thing that I think is very important, and you can even start using this yourself, like you probably have people that you like rolling with, people that you like training with, and some people that you're just like, ah. But then you don't always, sometimes you'll go in to train and all of the people that you want aren't there. It's practically all just people. Or sometimes, especially when you start being around more and you start like coaching and that kind of thing, you tend to get partnered up where you have to work with people that you don't really you wouldn't choose to work with if you were paying for it, if you understand what I mean.
yeah,
But a lot of the time, a lot of our disagreements and a lot of the reasons that we have these either really dead rolls or just extreme wars to the death, and a lot of the time that we don't actually want to train with people or we like training with people, it simply comes down to just trying to understand who they are as a person and what they're actually training for. Like, if you actually just give this a little bit of notice, the people that you actually have roles with that you hate for one reason or another are probably people that you don't really even know why they train or what they're really trying to get out of it. They just, that's that guy again. He always tries to rip my legs off. Okay, I'll just get through this role kind of thing. If you actually took a bit of time over a few classes and just like, hey, Bill, what's going on today or whatever, and just got to know him like a little bit more, he might still keep trying to take your legs off kind of thing, but at least you make this little bit of a connection. I'm not saying you become friends or anything like that, but you get to know each other enough so that you're like, oh, he just comes in after work and he has a super stressful business, and it's his way of just getting those few submissions and that sort of things is basically, it's just his stress relief for the day. So when you know that it's like, he's not really in it for competing, he's not really in it to make friends or anything like that. He just wants to come down and beat a few people up. So depending on where you're at and where you think, sometimes you can just have those roles and just weather the storm. Don't even really try to do much. Just let them actually get what they want out of the role and be like, cool, sweet. Don't even really think about it. Don't even really work on the stuff. Just keep yourself safe. Keep your legs from getting broken. Let them get whatever they want out of it. Then all of a sudden, then you've got like a working relationship. If you understand what I'm saying, rather than being like, I absolutely hate this guy. You can be just like, you know what? I'm just going to waste this round. Come on, Bill, let's roll. If you know what I mean.
yeah, it teaches you to understand people better, show
Mm,
compassion, and overall just be a kinder person. A good example that I'm experiencing at the moment, which I'm sure you've probably experienced many points, um, is like say you've got a submission locked up on someone, and they're just not tapping because it means the world to them. We're sparring at midday on a midweek, yeah, in a gym that's got 10 people and no one cares. I'm gonna let it go. Like I don't need to break your leg, you know? Like
mm.
it's not that deep. Just it teaches you to just understand people and be like, okay, like I don't need to hurt you. Like this is fine. We can If this means more to you, that's fine. Like, it might sound like I'm being sarcastic, but like I'm genuinely not. Like, I'll just let it go, you know?
Yeah.
And you can relate that over to life where, say, a certain argument really means the world to somebody, and you're like, okay, well, I can show you some compassion here. I can understand that this means a lot to you. Like, we can just chill. And
Uh,
this is one of the things which I love about training is that for me, I'm the best version of myself after training,
mm,
the most peaceful version of myself after training. Like, I like being myself after training, you know? Sometimes I'm like, oh, you're a bit of a dick before you've trained because you're maybe a little bit pent up, you're a little bit annoyed about certain things that you shouldn't be annoyed about. But afterwards, I'm like so peaceful and I enjoy being around myself, you know? And I wish more people could
I'm
experience that.
100%. I'm fully with you on that.
Yeah, it's
Except for that one time, that guy that you're always way better than, he just makes an absolute mess of you.
yeah.
I'm joking. I'm
Then you
joking.
hate yourself.
Yeah. Then you just get in the car and start crying.
Oh, we've
Nobody
all had
talks
those.
about all those drives home where the tears are running down your face.
Yeah, yeah, we've all had those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see, not even beginners make, but anyone make with their training on a week to week basis that you would advise people to eradicate?
Oh, not, yeah, basically what we just talked about. But the simplest way that I can put it is confusing competition with training. So trying to win rounds rather than improve what they're working on. So obviously, we go into jujitsu to get better at jujitsu, obviously for whatever goals we've got. But you need to be like working on parts of your game. So when you're on the way into training, you need to be thinking to yourself, hey, what am I going to be trying on working on today? Am I wanting to, work on getting an underhook on when I'm doing this? Or, you might have different people that you have in your mind that you want to try these different, you know, moves, leg entries, submissions, finishes, bites on the heel, whatever it is. You really want to be clear in your head, hey, that's where I'm wanting to go. And if you're very new to jiu-jitsu and you're like, well, I don't really know, I don't really sort of get to anywhere, then it's easy. Wherever you get stuck, it's usually at the bottom of side control or mount. Don't worry about getting stuck there. Start working on getting out of there. So yeah, but the thing that I see a lot of the time, this is why I talk about like having those things to work on and then using that to aim towards whatever your original goal is that puts it into perspective for you. And then that way you can see training as training and not a competition, because I see so many gyms and it's clear as day when you walk into them and you slap hands that have that first roll. I'm like, ah, it's another one of those where the coach isn't really quite clear and he doesn't really quite understand the goals of his students. So most of the roles just tend to be about who can submit who, rather than, hey, we're here to improve our jiu-jitsu. It's just kind of like, who can score the points on the other person, who can get past the guard, who can get the sub. And it's just a lot of these like head clashing kind of roles that you do improve. And don't get me wrong, and I still absolutely love those roles, but if you never have the like the games and the controlled stuff and the roles that are at the slower rate, when you go to have those roles at the high heart rate, the really high work effort, the real head clashy sort of roles, your game looks absolutely shit.
Yeah.
You can't tell the difference in those first few years.
Mm.
But after a few years, and there is some guys that have been around 10 years and they still can't tell the difference. But once you can see it, man, the difference is huge. And it's massive in jiu-jitsu. Most gyms aren't actually focusing on learning. They're still confusing getting that submission in the training room with getting better at jiu-jitsu. And it's a horrible mistake. And I see it like, I've been to so many countries of the world. I've trained in all of these different places. I see it happening everywhere, and I see it happening at all belt levels and all experience levels. That would be my number one, yeah, like big no-no and big thing that I just see as a mistake. And if you look at any like high level competitor, they always put up the highlight stuff. So when people slap hands and you go to roll in the gym, they kind of want to roll these highlight reels.
Mm.
But you don't see most of the work that these professional athletes are doing. Most of those professional athletes aren't having these insane rolls that they're putting up all the time. They're moving through positions and they're understanding, because you need to start to get your body to like automatically go in the right direction and automatically do the right things when you get into these, you know, real intense scenarios. But if you're always in intense scenarios, you'll always move in the direction of like fear. And people like try to say, oh, just drill more, drill more, drill more. It's not the answer. The games help a lot, but really you need to be able to have these rolls where you go through the positions at like a higher percentage and a lower percent, like going up and down in the effort that you put in. It needs to go up and down. So yeah, to make the answer really short, confusing competition with training is the number one big no-no.
Yeah, that's always the times where I feel like I've got the least out of a training session as well, is when I just try and go like locking horns with everybody in the room.
Yeah,
I go up to, I travel around the country quite a bit doing podcasts, and that's led
yeah,
to me training at a few really high level gyms.
yeah,
And I get to experience some quite cool things. And there's a gym that I go to semi regularly. It's a 2 hour drive there and a 2 hour drive back, so I can't go as much as I want to. But
dedication.
yeah, but I do try and go semi regularly. I went there this week, and every time I go there, like I just learn something so small, you know, but so helpful every single time. And I'm not sure, I'm not sure that the head coach there is called Danny Batten, and I believe he's a black belt under Hodger Gracie, I think.
Nice.
So I could be wrong on that. It's definitely from that kind of lineage, like a Gracie lineage or something like
If
that.
you've rolled with him and he feels like he weighs about 300 kilos, then he's probably
Really?
from Hodger.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. Um, and where was I going with this? Oh yeah, it's
You've
like
learned.
it's the simplicity of, I'll be doing a basic pummeling wrestling drill on the feet, and he'll come along and he'll be like, "Oh no, like just place your hand here, clamp your elbow slightly a little bit more," and all of a sudden, my pummeling is just like I can now pummel 10 times better, and I can control people in ways that I didn't think I'd be able to control them just from such tiny little adjustments. And it's that thing of, you sweat the small stuff, like the bigger things are going to come easier.
Yeah. Was it John Danaher did that like the charity seminar at B Team, or like the one to raise money? And he
Yeah.
said jiu-jitsu is a sport that rewards you for knowing a lot about a few small things and then a little bit about everything. And I feel that's actually quite true.
Yeah, yeah, it really is true. And you hear people like him say that, and you see the success that he's had. And interestingly as well, going back to what we were saying earlier, he's never competed ever.
Right.
He's
Yeah.
never had any competition, you know.
Mm.
And I look at things like that, and I don't want to rewind the conversation, but I do look at things like that, and I'm like, that is interesting. Is that because maybe he's just so obsessed with the small little details of coaching, you know? Maybe. I don't know.
So I'll give you my opinion in it after you answer the question. But what's your opinion on, like, let's say you're looking for maybe you could just have any coach and just assume that you could just transplant that coach into your gym and that's your ideal training environment. What would you be looking for, and what kind of things would tell you this guy's a good coach? This guy knows what he's doing. So let's say you get a chance to do as many classes as you want. You get a chance to talk to him. You get to know about his history, whatever it is. What things are the kind of like check that box.
I, I'm very lucky in that.
I've put you on the
Um,
spot there, haven't
no,
I?
no, it's a really good question, and I'm very lucky in that I feel like I've already got those people coaching me.
Mm,
It's not just one person. So for me, I don't look for one person. I look for different
perfect.
things from different people.
Yeah.
So again, taking that gym that I have to travel a couple of hours for, I wouldn't necessarily say they're my like they are my coaches, but they're not like my personal like full-time one-to-one coaches, because I can only make it up there every so often. But when I go up there, there's two coaches. One of them is very like super outgoing, quite funny, talkative, really, really bubbly personality, and he's incredibly, incredibly knowledgeable. Um, and when I speak to him, it is those tiny little details that I get from him. And
Mm,
for me, the thing that stands out is I can't believe how much he knows. You know, like
yeah.
it doesn't make sense to me that somebody knows as much about martial arts as he does.
Yeah.
For me, that's a really good sign.
Mm,
There's another coach there who's very stone-faced, kind of scares me a little bit. Um, I'm never sure where I stand with him, but I know that he doesn't like dislike me. I hope he doesn't dislike me, but I'm never quite sure. And for me, again, I like having someone like that because it makes me more focused, more disciplined. It hardens me if I'm in a tough round and I see he's watching. I know that if I bitch out, like he's going to be judging me for it, and
mm,
it makes me a little bit more of a killer.
mm,
Um, Other coaches who I feel maybe they don't know as much as certain coaches, but I can get really good rounds with them. They're really dedicated. They love the sport, and they, like I say, maybe they're not as knowledgeable as certain other people, but they have a real passion for it, and I can talk to them for hours, and we can get a really good sweat on, and we can have a really good class. I value that as well. So for me, it's not one thing. It's multiple people who offer different things.
mm.
Um, yeah. What's your sort of takeaways from that?
Yeah, I completely agree that opinions from multiple people definitely count. But I just thought for the sake of ease, if I'll just put it into one person, then I'd have, you know what I mean. My before I even say what it say, I just want to throw out one misconception. There seems to be this thing in in a lot of people selecting coaches, and you're probably one of the only people that I've asked that hasn't said, "Oh well, I just want to see their competition accolades." And that really seems to be like a thing, right? Like you go into a jiu-jitsu gym and you look at the counter, and there's pictures of like the coach winning this and winning that, and I'm not saying that that makes them bad or anything.
Mm.
It doesn't actually mean that they know that much about the sport. Like if you look at any other sport, wrestling, football, all that sort of thing, the coach is like 55 years old with a big belly out here, and he's just like sucking on a stogie, and then he's like, all right, we got to start running some laps. You know what I'm saying? He's this kind of guy, but then he can produce some amazing athletes. And it seems to be a little bit like, oh, there's one exception to the rule, and that's John Danaher in jiu-jitsu. But everybody else, they need to be like this amazing competitor to be worthy of teaching a class.
Mm.
So I'm interested in the fact that you actually picked up, and you're like, oh, well, you've named a couple of coaches that you really admire and get some of the most from that have never really made that much of a name for themselves as competitors. So I kind of think that it's not as simple, it's not as black and white as that, but there is a real thing that as far as big competitions are concerned, and big, especially no-gi competitions like ADCC and that sort of thing, a lot of the guys that actually win those or have got to that level really fast and that win those, their body naturally moves at a lot of ways, and they didn't really need to learn as many things to get to where they got to as that fast. So sometimes you'll ask them, oh, how about this and how about that? And they're just like, yeah, don't be there.
Mm.
You know what I mean? They don't, it's people that have to work a little bit harder that understand that escaping from side control is about angling your body and framing and making space and all of these different things. It's when people that actually got stuck there a lot that had to learn all the things and go through all the steps and processes that can really like explain it. So I guess to answer the question of what I would be looking for in a coach is somebody that can watch people gut rolling and watch people things going on and go, hey, pause there. If you just did this when you're doing that, that's what you need to do. So after you do this, like, maybe it's passing guard. I see you're knee sliding. Let's say I see you and you like knee sliding everyone. Hey, I just want you to go back over with Bill. He shuts down the knee because I know that he shuts down the knee slide on everyone and I reckon he'll shut it down on you. But I want you to try and do X, Y, Z when you go and roll with him. To me, that's like real coaching. Mm. And I don't know if you've heard about the CLA game style of. Mm-hmm. It's a massive hype thing, and but it's been around for quite a while, and there's quite a bit of science that backs it up. To be honest, I like to use it a lot for warm-ups and to explain the moves that I'm teaching, that sort of thing. I think it's got a lot of benefit, but I think the real benefit is for coaches to go, right, so you and you aren't hand fighting enough. So what I basically want you to do, I just want you to do the hand fighting part of wrestling or the hand fighting part of seated versus standing guard. And whenever you get to say chest to chest or whatever it is, you make up the game around it. If a coach can structure games that will actually so you can basically spend the next, say, 10 minutes playing these couple of games, and then you could go back into rolling and your takedowns are going to be better because you know how to hand fight better. If a coach can actually see that and structure games to answer that question in minutes, to me, that's what makes a really good coach. And then the other thing would be actually knowing about the students, knowing what the students' goals are and what they're working towards. So maybe they see that they're not doing X, Y, Z or whatever, but they know that, hey, it's not that important to them anyway. That's just Bill that wants to come down here and let off some steam at the end of class. I'm just going to let him do his thing because that's what he's here for. So those two things, like being able to actually give accurate advice that will work immediately for the students and knowing what the students' goals are and being able to mesh those two together, they're the two things that I consider to be the jiu-jitsu coaching kind of like pinnacle, or what a coach should always be striving towards. Like it's a sliding scale and you never reach the top of that, right? But yeah.
That's a really good point about the individualizing your coaching, not just this is what we're doing, this is how you do it. No veering from that. And then I like the point that you raised about stopping the sparring and being like, no, this is a slight adjustment you can make, and then watching the person implement that as well. And that doesn't just apply to jiu-jitsu, that applies to any martial art, or any form of coaching in general. But like it's broad, like a broad thing for coaching, but it works in any martial art. And I've done a bit of beginners coaching myself, and nothing crazy, like it is beginners coaching. I still consider myself a beginner, obviously, like I'm not saying I'm an expert, but I can definitely help someone who's never trained before. And I try and implement that as much as possible because it's not about the flashy move that I want to teach. It's about what does this person need? If they can't keep their frames in place, what's the point of me teaching them some flashy submission from underneath? Like
yeah,
it's it's one of those things where you have to be quite selfless when you're coaching someone, in my opinion, in order to be a good coach. It's a hard balance to keep, but yeah, it's important.
Yeah. On the flip side of that question, what would you think? What would you kind of be a bit of a, like, I guess a red flag, a bit of a, I don't know if I should train here. If you saw in like a gym or a coach or like you could feel in the ethos of the area, what would you be like? And I know you've left a gym, so you've got some things that are that are in your head.
Someone who's not sure of what they're teaching. I can sense that pretty well. Um, it's hard to explain what it is. It's more of an intuition thing, maybe because I've been around it. Um, someone who, yeah, like sometimes you can tell that they have a very surface level understanding of what they're teaching. Um, and that's fine to have a surface level understanding of something, but don't teach it, in my opinion. Or if you are teaching it, don't make it everything that you teach. And if you're just wanting to maybe show an idea, preface it and be like, I don't have a full understanding of this yet, but this is, as far as I understand, this is how it works. But I could be wrong, you know. And then make sure that the person you're teaching understands that you're not 100%, so don't take this as gospel.
Bro, that's yeah, that's it. That and it's rough to do, and it's humbling to do as like a coach. So I had like in my experience a few years ago, I was um, like coaching all my students and that kind of thing, and I'm like, I actually hate takedowns because like I've had like over the years I've had some most of my injuries have been through takedowns, and in Australia, especially historically, our takedowns are just get the person to the ground somehow. And that's how I've got injured. You know, I end up partnering up with somebody that's big and I get smashed on the ground. But then the evolution of no-gi started to come along, and wrestling's, if you go back like 4 years or so, wrestling was like a massive thing. So I just had this, I did this over a period of a few weeks. I'd just go every class for this week, guys. We're gonna mainly work wrestling, and I'm gonna show you what I do know. And on Thursday, I'm going to get my mate who is from America and has done like a bit of wrestling. Well, sorry, done a lot of wrestling. I'll get him to show you what he knows, and I'll do my very best to explain it. And I've watched tons of things, but as far as it really working and being exactly gospel truth, ask me questions. I'll do my best to research it and look it up. But I'm just being completely honest with you. We're doing wrestling this week, but I ain't a wrestling coach.
Yeah.
And when you've got like a mat full of students and they all look up to you to walk out and say that, and then to say it every single day for a week for those few blocks, that's pretty tough. But in my opinion, that's the approach. Like if there's different things that you're an expert at, but when it comes to the things that you don't know, rather than try to bluff your way through it and be like, oh, it's just this and it's just that. Hey, I've got a black belt and you've got a blue belt. Nah, it doesn't fly. Doesn't fly. So yeah, I completely agree with you there.
Yeah, and that's why I don't like again, just having one person, because not everybody can understand everything, you know? Like, and I think that particularly with the whole content creation thing, it's partly why I don't put much of my own personal journey out there, because you just open yourself up to so many people just trying to tear you down, you know? Um, and I try to not be too negative, but there are those people out there who everything they say is correct,
Yes.
you know? And there is no shifting from that. And if you don't agree, you're a retard,
Yeah.
you know? And
It's
I
great,
think
isn't it?
as much as I love the whole no-gi grappling, and I think it is the way that the sport is going, it is definitely fostering a real sense of I'm the king, you know?
Yeah, this elitism kind of crowd.
And it's
Yeah.
the same. So it's the same, it's the start of they're heading in the direction that they believe that the current gi people are at, you know,
Yeah.
where they're like, oh, we know everything and we're just ignoring other stuff. And it's the same cycle. It just starts a little bit differently with like social media now, where they're like,
Yeah.
oh, you don't agree? Cool, you're retarded. Get out.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, well, you do have to be careful with that because you are heading in the same direction as the people that you're claiming you don't like.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah. Oh, and this is a real gripe for me with the general jujitsu crowd in the whole world. I mean, I'm speaking against, like, I'm a jujitsu person. Jujitsu people are my people, kind of thing. So when I look at, say, like the Moneyberg situation and things like, and even the J Rod situation and that sort of stuff, the amount of people that, like, the situations are the situations, and you know, you can have your opinion and I can have my opinion and that sort of thing. But where you get guys and girls, well, especially like guys getting on there and just saying, oh, I hate this and blah, blah, about this and that, and expressing their opinions time after time. Let's say on the Moneyberg thing, oh, he's a fraud. He's like, okay, whatever. That's your opinion. That's cool. Over and over and over again, the algorithms are built to then feed you more of that. And then you see these same people saying, like, getting angry that that's in your feed. Like, you got triggered by it, you commented on it. Now the algorithms are going to show you more of that. So are you so silly that you've got absolutely no idea that that's how this works? Like, aren't you? Just looking at your profile picture, you look like you're about 20. So, and even like whatever it is, like, who even really like knows the situation? Like, cool, like, throw an opinion out there if you're trying to get like followers and you're trying to be a bit controversial and that sort of stuff. Yeah, whatever, that's cool. Like, I respect that, and I actually, like, appreciate it. I like my ideas being challenged. But to, like, actually almost like get your back up and like almost die by the sword of like some comment that you've made on somebody's post. Like, come on, guys, the internet's not that real.
yeah, I'm trying to find this comment. Here we go.
Yeah.
Where is it? Not sure where it is now. Oh, here we go. I screenshot it because I found it quite funny, and I posted it on my story with it was like, I'll read you the comment first.
Yeah.
Hope you get hit by a car. You guys are genuinely some of the worst people to go up against. Um, then they
And what
couldn't they
was
couldn't.
this? Was this to you?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what was it about? What did you say?
It was about leg locks.
What?
Yeah. So basically, because I enjoy doing a bit of leg locking here and there, someone commented publicly, who I've never spoken to before, has never met me, that they hope I get hit by a car. Um, and I just reposted it on my story saying "Happy Friday, guys," with a love heart on my leg. 'Cause it was right at the start of my day, and I was like, "Oh, it's quite funny." But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's crazy, isn't it, that people just happily comment that sort of stuff, and it's somebody who doesn't have their name on their profile and they've got a fake profile picture, you know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't genuinely bother me. I do just think it's a bit stupid that people act like that, you know.
It's mental to me. Or, and like, I'm 40, so like, and I've been like around, and my whole thing has been like offline. I was very slow to even get a computer. I should have even, like, I didn't never really posted anything of my original journey or anything like, because I didn't even really, the internet, like, coming from the country and then working in construction, internet and stuff wasn't even a thing for me. So it's only really like since, like, because I was running the gym, I was like, oh, I should post stuff like about like online, and then I realized, oh, that was where you do ads. So like, I learned a lot around that and doing that sort of thing. And then since that whole saga's kind of gone down, and now that I'm traveling, I'm like trying to learn about like the online thing. I'm kind of like, wow, there's this whole thing it's like a whole nother other world where people actually like end their lives over and get into some crazy heated debates, and like, but it's like a phone. It's a computer. Like, these are text. This isn't real life.
Yeah.
Like, you can just like close the laptop. Like, if you said something that was really like driving me insane, now you just pull that down and you're gone. Like, you go all the way back to England instantly. Like, yeah, it's, for me, I kind of find it a little bit weird, like kind of weird to get my head around. So like, when we first started traveling, I was like, yeah, I want to start to understand how to do this whole online thing and, build up a bit of a following. So I started just, like, the last few months I've been like only putting out jujitsu stuff. But in the lead up to that, I just wanted to teach myself how to maybe make some like clickbaity kind of reels and, you know, have a bit of a play around. One time I'm just like, and I was trying all sorts of things. Like I'm jumping into the pool and like making different like videos and that sort of thing. And then one time I'm like, oh, what am I going to post today? And we get on a Singapore Airlines plane, and they've got like, when you fold the thing down, there's like a little mirror on there. So I'm like, what the hell is this mirror there for? And I'm like, babe, record me. So I've just pretended to use it to do a line off there. And I put that up, put my phone on Do Not Disturb because the plane was taken off. I land, 100,000 views, all of these crazy comments. It's within like a couple of days, it got like 14 million views or something like that. All of these comments, guys were sending me messages with death threats. Death threats were popping up on the post and being deleted by Instagram and stuff like that. I was just like, what the hell? Like, Singapore Airlines doesn't even fly to Colombia. And there wasn't, you'd be crazy to be doing it in Singapore. Like, I'd be literally doing I'd be like, you know, I'd have a death wish to even do that. It was just like a funny kind of 10-second reel.
Yeah.
What the hell? So there's some wild stuff that happens like online. So that was a little bit of my sign to merge away from trying to create funny reels and talk about what I actually know.
Yeah, I think it's always best to go down the route of trying to provide value.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I've tried to do. And weirdly, like I've when I first started, I was doing a lot of negative stuff. Because it was fueled by a lot of what happened with like my previous gym, and I was, you know, I was handed a difficult card, you know, and I did the best that I could, but there was naturally still like a lot of resentment, and there still is, but I'm better at handling it now.
Yeah.
So I've tried to move away from the negative posts and provide more value, hence why doing a podcast, and trying to learn from other people and then repurpose that content and put it out there. And it doesn't do as well sometimes, but then I do get messages from people being like, "Oh, the stuff that you're putting out is really helpful," you know. And weirdly, like this month, I've hit a million views on my whole page, like for the whole month, which to me is
Cool.
quite big. Um, and some of it came from like a couple of memes that I posted, but they weren't like offensive, like they were just funny, you know. But a lot of it also came from natural, helpful posts, and I'm really happy with that. And I just want to try and provide as much value as possible. Um, yeah, and I kind of want to shift the conversation into this direction anyway. Which was
And I actually do, just on that, man, I do think you and like a couple of other like guys that are, you know, newer into the sport and actually putting yourselves out there online and, you know, like trying to do this, it's valuable to me because I look at that and I'm like, yeah, I kind of feel like I've forgotten some of that stuff. You know what I mean? Because it was 15 years ago when I was going through that thing. So I'm like, yeah, that's actually like a really good point. But there's also the side of it to me, and this is like, I don't want to rewind all the way back to the start, but when you said like, what has jiu-jitsu actually given you? Like in my head, I'm like a 4-stripe white belt at the online thing. You know what I mean? I've got to like, what should I text this person? You know, is it smart to really like this post sort of stuff? But I'm like in it for the journey because this is like the next place of like where I want to go. But as far as jiu-jitsu and martial arts is concerned, I feel like, yeah, cool. I can give you some ideas and things to work around there. But then as far as like the online things concerned, I look at like guys like, so you and Pete and Weasel and all that sort of stuff. I'm like, oh yeah, so how do they do their posts? And what, you know what I mean? Because to me, you guys are like far further along that journey than where I am. So I'm like, cool, I respect their opinions and I respect who they're talking to on that. But I feel like I've got more knowledge to share on the martial arts front. But when it comes to like the online front, well, hey, like I just said to you before, it's a new game to me. So I'm like, share as much as you can because I'm looking at it. That's why I try to like it and comment on it as much. So I'm like, show it to me in my feed, please, please, algorithm. I actually want to learn from this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm no expert at it, but you know, I'm trying my best.
Mm.
And I do think that some people try and just get the views, and if that's what you want to do, fine. But I don't know if you're necessarily going to be happy from that long term, because you get stuck in.
Just pretend to do coke if that's all you want.
I I might make a video about that, just see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if you just focus on getting the views, you get content trapped and you can't make the stuff that you want to make.
Mm.
And then it's the equivalent of just working a 9 to 5 essentially, because you have to do something that you don't want to do in order to keep your bills paid. And then you just get caught in that cycle, because if you veer
Yeah.
away from it, all of a sudden you're because you haven't got that backlog of no, this is what I'm doing. You try and shift it into something that you actually want to do, and people are like, well, we haven't followed you for this.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to make sure that early on I'm building something that I actually want to do. Um, and conversations like this, and other posts that I make, they maybe don't do as well in the short term, but long term, it's definitely going to benefit me.
These would be the ones that people actually do look up and go, oh yeah, that's right. That was what he was doing. That was how he started. That was what he did back then, right?
Yeah.
What can I just what is like your kind of like your goal, and what are you trying to sort of monetize? Who are the people that you're trying to help, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah. So like I've said, I'm still a beginner myself, right? I'm not a
Mm.
new beginner. I think the term beginner is kind of um it can mean many different things, in my opinion. And there's different stages of beginner, you know?
Yeah.
Like there is the person who has never trained before, and then there's the person who is a beginner in a room full of pros, you know? Like if I
Yeah.
when I go and train at really good gyms, I'm a beginner compared to someone who's trained for 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
But if someone who's trained for a couple of years trains with me, they're like, "Oh my God, like you've got so much to teach me," you know?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Like if you're just out at a party or in a room in a crowd of a venue of some whatever, you're probably able to beat everybody in the room, sort of thing, in a fight.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So I want to help those people who haven't started yet, or are early on into their training, maybe a year, a couple of years into training, because I know I can help them, you know?
Mm.
And I'm not saying that I'm the person that can help them progress to being world class, because I'm not world class myself, you know? And I've got the understanding of that. It's like, well, go and find someone who is, you know? But I can get you
Yeah.
started.
And just to that, like like I just said to you before, sometimes 15 years later, the things that a beginner needs, or 20 years later, a beginner, the things that I say to somebody that's new aren't really completely relevant. But somebody that's been doing it for, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years, the stuff that comes out of their mouth is like the stuff that they literally just got over. Hey, this is what I just learned about escaping side control. Whereas, you know what I mean? Once you've been escaping side control for like 10 years, it's kind of like, I don't know, I don't even know how to do it anymore. I'm just like, how to do it. It's a side guard.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, like you forget what you forget, right? And you've
Mm,
kind of forgotten that you've forgotten it, so it's not really relevant in your mind. Whereas someone who needs that bit of information needs that information, you know. And
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's one of those yeah. So yeah, like to answer your question, just getting people into the sport. And I did actually have a question for you
Mm,
based on this. It's like I think I'm a young man, so I talk a lot about young men, and people seem to give me flack for being like, as a man. Apparently, that phrase isn't acceptable anymore, you know,
okay.
which I find ridiculous. And I make sure that I let people know that whenever they try and slander me for saying as a man, I'm like, what do you mean that's offensive to you? Anyway, that's that's a whole separate side note. If I can't talk about my journey as a man, fuck you. Um,
Yeah.
but there's a lot of when I first started martial arts, like I was really lost with what I wanted to do, and the direction that my life was going. And I was a bit of a loser, really shy, had no confidence. If you see someone in that situation, and this can relate more to life, it doesn't have to relate to martial arts. What is your advice to someone like that?
Just commit to the next 10 years. So I need to explain that a little bit better. But I was in a bad space. So I was bricklaying, and my old man, like, bit of a long story, but he ended up with cancer. And then I was working, and then he's got esophagus cancer. It went really bad, and then he died. And me and him were like really close. Like, we'd had a weird a weird relationship growing up, but over the last couple of years, we ended up getting like sorting out our differences and becoming like good friends. And yeah, then when he passed away, I was just like absolutely rattled. So I was working as a bricklayer. I was doing personal training, like I just qualified as a personal trainer, and I would work, do personal training, and the rest of the time that I wasn't doing like extremely like I'd be working hard like a maniac. I'd be like training my clients like crazy, and then as soon as I finished whatever I'd do, and I'd hit the closest bottle, I would just start drinking until I passed out. And then if I woke back up, I'd just do whatever I was doing, drinking, and then I'd sleep before I had to go and do more sessions or go to work, and then I'd just keep repeating that cycle. At 20, you can do that. You can't at 40. But that was like my mindset of where I was at. In the years sort of previous, I'd done like that Krav Maga, like when that first came to Australia in Geelong and that sort of like down in Victoria, I was I got quite involved with that, and I'd done Muay Thai and that sort of stuff. So I had like a lot of respect for martial arts, and obviously Jackie Chan and, the movies, that kind of cool shit. But I was driving back from work one day. Well, actually, on this job on the way back, there was an academy there. It actually didn't do jiu-jitsu, it did freestyle martial arts. But one day I'm like, "You're pulling in there today." And so I'm actually drinking in the car on the way home, and I'm like, "You're pulling in there. You're pulling in there. You know you're going to drive past, but you're going to pull in." So I actually took a swig, put my stubby down, pulled the ute up, walked inside, and the owner of the coach is there, and he's like, "Oh, what can I do for you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I just want to join up." He's like, "Oh, yeah, no, we do like a free, I don't know, I forget whether it was a free class or a free week." I'm like, "Oh, no, that's cool. I'm ready to join up now." He's like, "Well, there's a class going to start in like about an hour. Like, do you want to come back and do the class first?" I'm like, "No, cool." And he was actually, fair play to him. He's a good dude. He goes, "Oh, so like, what things are you trying to achieve? Like, why do you want to just join up?" So I'm like, "Oh, because I want to get a black belt." And he's like, "Yeah, like anything." I'm like, no, it's sweet. I'm like, "Just give us the paperwork." So I'm like, filled it in, sweet. I'm like, "Cool, bro. I'll see you tomorrow." Walked out. Bottle shop was like right next door. Grabbed myself another 6-pack, got in the ute, drove off, and then started like the next day. So yeah, that was. Sorry, what was I talking about? Got caught up in
Um,
my story.
um, the question was, what is your advice to someone who is feeling a little bit lost?
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm saying. Sorry, got fully sidetracked there.
It's all
So
good.
that's how lost I was at the time, and like I just started there, and then it kind of gave me like a lot, and then we ended up learning about that. I went through the belts in Taekwondo, and then got into jiu-jitsu, and then competed. And I remember going, "Wow, this is like going to be a long journey," but I'm like, "I'm going to do the next 10 years and I'll get my black belt. And then once I do that, I'll figure stuff out." So as time went by, like my head got involved. I got into relationships and out of relationships. I had issues with work. I had injuries, all sorts of things. But in my mind, any time off, any different ways that I was feeling or what things that I was caught up with, the thing that kept me solid was like, this is kind of what I do, and I'm doing it for 10 years. And I'll reassess it then if I still want to keep going at that point. Once I get my black belt, then I'll kind of go, all right, it changes at that point, and I'll decide if I want to keep going there. So if you're kind of feeling a little bit lost, even if it's not jiu-jitsu, And for me, it's like, obviously I still do jiu-jitsu every single chance I can. But for me now, it's like I'm like a year into this like social media kind of like making money online sort of journey. I've given myself 10 more years of it. So I'm in 10 more years, I'll decide if it's really the avenue that I still want to, if I'm still happy helping gym owners, you know, run their gyms the way that they want perfectly. If I'm still happy like talking to people online and putting myself out there, if I'm still keen in 10 years, then cool. So even if like maybe I miss a day, or if stuff goes down and I don't have reception for a month, like when I was in, or a week when I was in Africa, that's not the end of the world. That's just part of the journey. So in my mind, if you're kind of feeling lost and that sort of thing, just like kind of zoom out. Like remember those, you know, those little things where here's Sally or whatever, and then here's the room, and here's the house, and here's the country, and here's the world. It's not that big of a deal. So it's hard to zoom out and see the world, but in your mind, you can zoom out and give yourself a time frame of like, this is how long I'm going to feel down for after, say, a business or a debt or a death or something like that. This is how long I'm going to feel down for, and then I'm going to get back to being who I am, because I've committed to doing this for so many years. And yeah, that's I guess, does that sort of answer your question?
Yeah, it's a broad question.
Mm,
I think as someone who's 23, and I'm really harsh on myself, like really difficult on myself, and I forget that I'm 23 sometimes.
yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people might feel the same. So it's something that I can share is that,
Mm,
um, for example, this month on my as I said on my Instagram, I've had 1 million views in 30 days, right?
mm,
And what I'm not asked about the 1 million views, but what is bizarre to me, and I've spoken to a couple of people about it, is that I feel like I'm not doing good enough. Yeah, I've had my most successful month, if you want to just go purely based off of metrics. I've had my most successful month ever with what I first started out trying to do. I remember when I first got, uh, I'd never got 2,000 views on a video before. And the first time I got 2,000 views on one video, I was like, oh, that's so cool. And now I've had 1 million views in a month. And I'm like, oh, that's not good enough.
mm.
And it's just a really strange reflection for me to think about. And I think that a lot of people feel the same. And I've spoken to a couple of people sort of in the martial arts space about it and content creation. And it's just a strange thing to sit and think about, that we can do so much and we can actually achieve the things that we said that we want to achieve, but yet feel worse than before we'd achieved them.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
bizarre.
yeah. Yeah, so that is a really broad question. And so I think, yes, zoom out and think about it as like, hey, I'm just in it for the journey, and I just do it either way. Because like, well, I've been doing jiu-jitsu now for 20 years. And if we just use that same like analogy, hey, like once I, you know, if you thought once I got to the next belt, or once I was able to, you know, have that shootout with, you know, my made up fella Bill there before, and come out on top every single time, that would make me feel better. But
Mm.
then usually over that time, you get to know Bill, and but then when you can get the better of him, you're like, yeah, but he's just on the different journey. So then you end up having roles with him where you just let him towel you up kind of thing, because you're like, you know, that's all he really needs. So, but to be honest, man, like you, if you love the journey, you just keep doing it anyway. Like there's times where I've just come off a really long flight and I go into a gym and it's just a room full of really big dudes and they roll like maniacs, regardless of who you are. And I just basically get my ass handed to me, like, you know what I mean? Like not submitted left, right, and center, but just like I'm trying to stay safe, and I'm, you know what I mean? My eyes are red from like flying for hours, and I'm just like, oh, come on. Like,
Yeah.
and I get back in the car or in the taxi or whatever, and I'm like, should I have really done it? Does, you know what I mean? Have I even progressed? Am I,
Yeah.
am I just getting beaten up by blue belts still? Like, but in my head, I'm like, that's my journey now is like 20 years. So to me that, like, I can't even remember. I know that I felt that, but I can't tell you who those roles were and with what people anymore, because I'm like, that was just how I felt at that time.
Mm.
So there's kind of that. But then there's also, I just read a book called The Psychology of Money. And I'm in some like masterminds and groups where people make like really, really big money.
Mm.
And life and money and different things that you're working on, like say views online, that sort of thing. There is no end to it. Like, it kind of just goes until you could just be, you know what I mean? You've got $100 million in the bank and you're like, if I invest 50 million of it and maybe that could do, how do I make it bigger and better? So before you even really get to a stage of say jiu-jitsu or whatever, it's what would be like, decide for yourself and sort of know like what actually would be enough. Like where is like that happy place? Like how many things, like what sort of things are you happy just to keep doing because that's now what you do? Like how you said before, don't get sucked into like a content trap. Begin with like the end in mind. Like once say you're making so much, say per month, like online, and you're able to, I don't know, whatever your goals are, buy a car or your mum a house or set yourself up financially or whatever those things are. What is like, maybe it's say $10,000 a month. Say when you're making $10,000 a month and you've paid off your car and you know you put a deposit down on a house, is that enough? Like, because otherwise, being who you are, I kind of feel like online is going to be capped at a certain point, and you're going to need to change and create like a character, and you're going to have to start doing all of these other different things, right, to go to the next level, the next level, the next level. But if you already know that, hey, I just want to have time with my friends, time with my like wife, girlfriend, time with my family, be able to be comfortable and help the people in it that I originally set out to be able to help in like a bigger and better way. And like once you get there, you've actually got it written down. And you can go, that's check. Like I'll set like a new goal and a new target, but I don't need to be chasing the money side of it anymore. I don't need to be chasing the views side of it anymore. That goal is checked.
Mm.
It's kind of like a reason why I like things like belts and that sort of thing. It's like when you've got to that, I don't need to be chasing that belt anymore, but hey, where else do I go with this? Who is the group of people that I'm trying to help? What is the message that I believe the world needs to like understand and hear, if you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I think the reflection or the thought that I've been having is to not chase metrics but instead chase specific situations and circumstances that I want instead.
Mm.
So what does, when I open up my Instagram and I look at, it says 1 million there. Cool. But I've still got to go and work a 10-hour shift tonight,
Mm.
that I don't want to go and do.
Yeah.
But on the podcast, I can't say much, but like in that, I don't want to go and do that 10-hour shift tonight, right? So my circumstance and situation is still one that I'm not happy with, which is the
Yeah.
reason probably why I'm having these sort of negative feedbacks in my head.
Yeah.
So instead of chasing the metrics, chase the circumstances. What do I want to do tonight? I want to go and chill around my girlfriend's house. I want to go and cook her some nice food. I want to have a lovely evening where I don't have that stress of having to do something that I don't get anything from, you know,
Yeah.
apart from, oh, cool, did a good job cleaning some shit that you don't want to clean, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
So that's
the
the,
author of The Psychology of Money, like I don't know, it's fairly early in the book, so I can't really remember where it was, but he was having a conversation like later in life with one of his friends, and at that time he'd like had a lot of businesses and a lot of different things, and his friend said to him, "Oh, so what do you think is like one of the the biggest business and finance things that really like impacted your life the most? Because like obviously his friend was angling towards like, you know, taking a company public and these sort of things. Like I'm paraphrasing here massively.
Yeah.
But he said, I was working a job that I didn't like. He went working like finance or something like that, and he realized that he actually like hated it. So he started doing extra things, like he was a musician. So he started like doing some extra gigs.
Mm.
And then he realized, hey, if I just do these gigs and these gigs, I don't need to do my job anymore. I can just do whatever I want. Once I string a few gigs together, that's going to replace my income, and then I can basically do whatever I want. And he said, once I did that and quit my job, he's like, that was the most personal influential goal that I ever achieved for myself, was actually just giving myself that time freedom and doing what I wanted to do to make money.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I don't work well in situations for corporate companies doing things that I don't want to do. And that's basically like the biggest motivating factor of doing my podcast and doing my social media, is to have that freedom. Uh,
Mm.
and you'll never true. Spoke about this thing on the podcast that I did with my one of my jiu-jitsu coaches. Is like you always have someone to serve, right? Like
Mm.
you're never completely free. But I don't want to be completely free, because then you have no aim and no purpose, right? But I want
Yeah.
to be able to do the things that fulfill me, you know. And I think that's something that a lot of like young people should try and aim for, is to, speaking as a young person myself, right? I'm not saying I'm some oracle of knowledge or anything, but I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of young people are feeling a bit lost, is because they don't have the thing that fulfills them. Maybe they haven't found it yet. Maybe they have found it, but might be too scared to actually try and fully commit to it, because it's hard, right? Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, it's just chasing circumstances and situations that you want to be in, I think, is the way to go.
Yes, and this goes back to like my original thing and and then this is sort of like what I feel like my message and and I call it culture. But really, if you if you just want to do if you just do jujitsu for jujitsu's sake, then it ends up like just morphing into no gi, and everybody does arm drags to get the back to get rear naked choke, or if they wrestle and they do leg locks, and it's these leg locks, and there's a very over the last year, you can see a very clear structure on what leg locks are the best and the rear naked chokes the best and what sort of moves all work the best. So everybody's trying to funnel into this perfect kind of a jiu-jitsu structure and do that. But then that's just like the sports side of it. And there's this whole kind of other art side of it. And that's why I think as coaches, you want to be able to teach people like a little bit about, hey, your goals and working towards your goals is what's far more important than just getting better at this sport for this sport's sake. Unless you're going to ADCCs or that's competition is like where you want to make your money. If it is, that's perfect. But that's not 99.9% of the people that do jiu-jitsu. So coaches need to be aware of like, hey, this is why people are coming into the gym. But also we need to be aware of it, and we need like, I've been thinking this way for like years, like a good 4 or 5 years now, but I still need to remind myself of it every time I go to training, is that I'm going down to train for me and to work on like my things. Like, sure, one of the big things like I'll be working on is like cardio and helping other people with their roles. But I'm like, actually, I'm doing that because that's what gives me joy. Like, I know that I can have a role with people, and without even saying anything, I can make them better at jiu-jitsu just by the way that I move and just by doing, and that actually gives me joy. And then usually at the end of the role, they'll say, hey, I noticed this and I noticed that, and I can answer that question. And I'm like, without even spending like a whole lot of time, and I might not ever see that person again, it gives me joy to know that in that 5 minutes and the 30-second chat afterwards, like I've impacted their journey forever. So that's my own personal fulfillment. So if you're going down and you're like, just with this idea of hopefully getting better at jiu-jitsu and being able to like tap bill, you've kind of missed the point. The point was getting into martial arts for that, whatever the reason was when you were 14 and you caught the taxi and you wanted to be a bit defiant to your mum. That's the reason that you want to kind of like remind yourself about. Okay, that's changed multiple times since then. Okay, so what has it changed into? So every time when you go to training, what are you working on now? And like, what is it, the thing that you're hoping to share? And then the same as like, when you go to get on this podcast with me, because doing this is like the same thing as going into practice. Like, unless you're getting paid like $100,000 for airing this, which I doubt you are, then this is the white belt years of like podcasting for both of us. It's putting in those reps, and like, if you're putting in reps just for the sake of reps' sake, it's, who knows? Like, why don't you just go to the gym and do bicep curls? You know what I mean? But you're not. Where you go to train and you put yourself out there and you ask hard questions on a podcast, and that is your repetitions. So before you actually hit start on the meeting, like, what is it that you want out of it? If you know what I'm saying? Like, if you know that, hey, I'm trying to get better at interviewing and I'm trying to like expose myself to more people so that I can offer advice to people that are just coming into the sport. Sick. Like, what your goals are. Like, I know because you actually just told me. That's perfect. I just think there's just so many people that actually have podcasts and they don't really know. They're asking questions for the sake of asking questions. They're not even listening to the things that their participants saying. Well, people that go into training and they're like doing jiu-jitsu to get better at jiu-jitsu, like, you can't be the best at jiu-jitsu. So what are you doing it for?
Yeah, and I think if anybody, I mean, if anybody has listened to the whole thing that we're doing here, and they got to this point, like, I want to make sure that they are not just listening to that, thinking that, oh, Brad's just like trying to be all down on himself and stuff. I want to make sure that like I'm trying to get across how I'm feeling, because I know that other people are feeling the same way. And the answer that you've given there isn't just specific to me. Like, that is that can be applied to their own journey. And do you know who?
That's some Aussie Swami advice, brother.
I assume you know who Braulio Steamer is.
Of course, yeah, one of the OGs, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did a seminar with him one time, and
Oh, dude.
yeah,
Yes.
and he gave this speech at the start of the seminar, and one of the things that he said, which really, really stuck with me, was, I'm going to give you 100 grams of information today, but I don't expect you or want you to remember 100 grams of it. Just take a couple of grams and make, like, if you pick up one thing and think, this is the one thing that I'm taking from today, and really focus in on that, and really make that the whole, like, if you pick up other stuff, cool, but make sure that you've got exactly that little bit that's really spoken to you. That's going to give you way more than if you try and remember everything that I'm teaching you, but you remember it all a little bit vaguely, maybe a bit wrong, because you've remembered everything, but you've remembered it wrong. Whereas if you just take one little bit and go, that's what I'm taking, and I'm really going to remember that, all of a sudden you start to build, you start to really build a really deep understanding, because you've taken one thing but remembered it really, really well and really understood it and took the time to go in depth into it. And then you start to build loads and loads of stacking loads of those little 100%,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
instead of broad understandings which aren't that deep. So if anyone is listening, like, that's kind of what I want people to do, is like, and what I try and do if I'm ever in a class or I'm listening to a podcast, is just take a couple of grams, but remember it so in depth and really focus on that. Maybe take notes on it, sit and meditate on it. Yeah, I don't really have a point outside of that, but yeah, it was just something that
Yeah,
he.
no, I really like that, man. That's really good. And it's one of the original things that I started to like about seminars, like right back in the day, whenever we could get one in Australia, would be that a lot of classes, and I was the worst for that trap of just trying to go down and just have hard rolls to get submissions and just aimlessly somehow get better at jiu-jitsu. I hadn't, you know what I mean? I didn't have anybody telling me this kind of knowledge that I have now. So I'd fall into it, but that trap of just, rah. But when I went to seminars, that was the thing that I noticed. I was like, it'd be this, or it'd be, I'd remember something out of the seminar that would be like, right, that stays with me. So even in a roll, like I'd be, somebody would be just about past my guard, and I'd have that side, I'd be like gripping across their collar, and I'd change my grips. I'd be like, I'm going to remember the Majid Hayes move where I push my elbows together and spin underneath and choke them as they pass around. It'd be little things like that that are just tied together and then started to become my game.
Yeah. Listen, man, I could talk to you all day, but I have got
yeah, bro.
a 10-hour shift in
Yeah,
the next
man.
hour. Um, is there anything that you want to promote whilst you're on here?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's really applicable to your audience, but I've got like I don't know if you've ever heard of School. It's like a platform thing. What I'm trying to do is, well, what I am doing is helping like jiu-jitsu coaches do like implement the culture into their gyms and then use it in like their marketing and that kind of thing. Because I helped set up one of the biggest franchises of jiu-jitsu in Australia, and I had my own gym for over 5 years. So I've just learned maybe a few little things there. So I've got like a school group that's free for people to join, and like obviously I have that first call with them for free as well. And like I've got a program that's behind that, but that's called Grapple Culture on School.
Okay.
And then of course, if you want to follow me on YouTube or Instagram, that'd be sick, because I'm trying to boost my numbers on those platforms like you are yourself.
Yeah.
So 100%.
Awesome. I'll if you send me the link over, I'll put it in the description so people can check it out.